Hello! So it's October, which means only one thing. It's Halloween season. So let's have a look at 10 horror movies that are set around Halloween. Let's go. Okay, so before we get into our horror movies, I want to shout out 2 horror podcasts that I've really been enjoying and I think you should check out. So the first one is called the Witchery Podcast. Now this one is great because it gives you the horror behind the horror. So it basically looks at any true stories that might have inspired a horror movie or any kind of stories that might have led to the inspiration for a certain horror. And it's really good, it's really informative, very, very fun, and yeah, I've been really enjoying it. It's quite new, so you can catch up really quickly, but yeah, check out the Witchery Podcast. Also, check out a podcast called The Horror Hangout. Now, I was a guest on this earlier this year talking about the film called The Taking of Deborah Logan, but this podcast is great. It's just 2 or 3 guys just getting together, chatting about horror movies. Sometimes they have a different guest on, and each episode is about a different horror movie, and they're fast approaching their 200th episode, so you've got plenty to catch up on. But yeah, if you like a really good horror podcast, it's quite funny, a little bit irreverent, check out the Horror Hangout, it's really cool. Okay, so let's crack on with our movies. And these are going to be 10 horror movies that are set around the time of Halloween or on Halloween night. We can't really do this without talking about the Halloween franchise. And Michael Myers, obviously, they are the ultimate sort of Halloween movies because they're so iconic and there's so many of them. And obviously we have Halloween Kills coming out this October as well. So that's really good. That's really one to look forward to. I'm not a massive fan of the Rob Zombie Halloween films, so I wouldn't recommend them. But any of the other ones, even Resurrection, the one with Tyra Banks and Busta Rhymes, I'd say they're all quite fun in their own way, but the original, the first one, is still my favourite. So yeah, shout out to Halloween. Technically that's number 11, I guess. So in at number 10, we have a film called Tales of Halloween. Now this is an anthology movie and it didn't make it onto my horror anthologies video that I made quite recently, but I will leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. But with anthology movies, obviously there are lots of little stories all in one movie, and this one has 10 of them. So it's a really good movie because it has lots of different variety, lots of variation, some quite good scares as well. And I think it sort of flew under the radar for a lot of people. Some people haven't seen this one, but I really like it. I think it does a really good job. And there literally is something for everyone as well with that many stories. So you can't really go wrong, especially if you've got a bunch of people together and you all want to watch a movie. This is probably a good one to watch. You can't beat a good anthology horror movie, let's face it. So at number 9, we have All Hallows Eve, and this one did make it onto my horror anthologies list, but I wanted to mention it again because it's set at Halloween. So this one is all about a couple of kids who are being looked after by a babysitter, and they get a spooky sort of VHS tape in with all their candy when they go trick-or-treating. They convince the babysitter that they want to watch the film and see what's on the video. When they do, it's a load of short stories that are all a bit too real, a bit too realistic and very gory. All Hallows Eve introduces us to a character who I believe is going to be a horror icon in years to come, and that is Art the Clown, and he turns up in our next film. So in number 8 we have The Terrifier, and this one stars Art the Clown from All Hallows Eve, so it's kind of like a spin-off, I guess. And this one takes place on Halloween night, where a couple of girls are at the end of their night sort of going into a pizza place, getting some pizza and having a chat, and this really creepy clown turns up and basically starts kind of messing with them. And then as the night goes on, they realise that they're being terrorised by this clown. So like All Hallows Eve, this one kind of gives me like B-movie horror vibes, but in the best way. And it's very gory, it doesn't pull any punches with the gore and with the kills. Art the Clown is fantastic. He is going to be a horror icon as far as I'm concerned, and I like this so much, it surprised me so much that I bought it on DVD. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check this one out. It's so good. In at number 7 is another film that I've spoke about before, but I think it definitely needs to be on this list because it's set at Halloween and it is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And this one follows a group of kids who go to a haunted house to retrieve a book that supposedly writes itself and writes scary stories. And this gives all of the kids basically different scenarios in which they're gonna be terrorized or maybe killed. And I really like this movie. I think it's not particularly too scary. It's one that is definitely good for young adults, or if you have a kid that's old enough to watch this kind of thing and wants to watch a horror but nothing that's too gory and nothing that's too adult. This one is perfect for it. I think it's just a really solid horror. It's got some great creature effects and some great ideas, and yeah, I can't recommend this highly enough, especially if you've got people who aren't into horror too much but definitely want to watch something in the horror genre at Halloween. This would be a recommendation. It's currently on Netflix. So in at number 6 is a movie that I love. It's from the 90s and it's Idle Hands. This one is a horror comedy, and this is all about Devon Sawa's character Anton, who basically finds out that his hand has become possessed and is going around killing people and he can't control it. Obviously, that is a funny premise in itself. He then finds out that a couple of his friends who he murders can't die and they come back as like zombies. It's very funny. It stars Devon Sawa, as I mentioned. It's got Seth Green in it and Jessica Alba. It's also got The Offspring in there, so that's how 90s it was. And it's just a lot of fun. It's based around Halloween time and it's very wacky, and it's one of those movies that you'll definitely remember once you've watched it and you want other people to watch it as well. But if you watched it the first time round, you'll definitely get those sort of 90s nostalgia vibes from it. But if you haven't seen it before, go and find it. It's very, very funny. So at number 5, we have a movie called Haunt, and this is one of 3 movies that are going to be about scare mazes. And this one is all about a group of friends who go to what's meant to be the scariest scare maze they can find, and they sign up. They go in and start to realize that some of the things that they're seeing are a bit too realistic, and they're basically starting to be hunted and end up in these sort of traps, a little bit like Saw, but certainly not as gory and extreme. It does have some great kills. It has some very good scenarios in this one, and a lot of the film is really stunning as well. It looks really visually interesting, so I really like that about it. There's some great color palettes in different scenes, so I thought this was a really nicely shot horror movie. It looked like they'd taken a lot of time to make it look really nice in certain places. So yeah, if you can find Haunt, I think I watched it on Amazon Prime a little while ago, should still be on there. But yeah, check it out, it's so good. In at number 4, we have our final anthology movie, and that is Trick or Treat. Again, I mentioned this one in my anthology video, and this one is perfect for Halloween. It's so good. It is, to me, a Halloween classic. It stars Anna Paquin and also gives us the introduction of another horror icon in the form of the little boy Sam, who has a sort of sack over his head, looks a little bit like the Scarecrow from Return to Oz. And yeah, it's just a really solid, good anthology movie. It has some good jump scares in this one, and also it has sort of different Halloween traditions that I think some people should probably uphold, really. But yeah, if you haven't seen Trick or Treat, you need to get it in your collection. It's quality. So next up at number 3, we have a movie called Hellfest, and with a name like that, it's going to have to live up to the title. But this one, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really cool concept. Again, it's almost like a sort of scare maze scenario, but it's a group of friends who go to a place called Hellfest, which is like a fun fair, like a carnival, and they go to lots of different rides and different scenarios to find all these scares, and all the scares are obviously meant to be fake. However, they find that when they get there, there is actually a serial killer on the loose who is in a mask. He's quite psychotic, and starts chasing them down. And it's a really great concept. I quite liked it. Hellfest gives me kind of Scream vibes. It reminded me of the Scream movies a lot, just because of some of the characters and just the way that the film flowed as well. But I thought it was a really cracking Halloween movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out, especially if you're one of those people that likes to go to scare mazes. This is a good one for that. So in at number 2, we have a movie that I've wanted to talk about for a long time on this channel, and that is Ginger Snaps. Now, it's one of my favourite horrors, and it's my favourite werewolf movie. It's a brilliant sort of teen coming-of-age werewolf movie, and it's all about 2 sisters who are quite morbid and quite strange, and the older sister gets bit by a werewolf, and Ginger starts to become a werewolf over time. It's got some great creature effects in this one and some brilliant characters, and also the finale of the movie at the end is set in a Halloween party, so that's why I put it on this list. Any excuse. And I really love this movie. The dialogue is fantastic. It's actually the first in a Ginger Snaps trilogy, and I don't know whether they plan to make it as a trilogy, but because of the success of the first one, it definitely deserved some sequels. Has the same cast, so it still has the same sisters. The sequel is called Ginger Snaps Unleashed and kind of follows on from this one. And then the third one is set all the way in the past, in the sort of 18th century, and has the sisters in it as well. So I think they're trying to create sort of a legacy effect of these 2 sisters being throughout history. And yeah, they're really, really good films. I quite enjoyed them, but the first one to me is an absolute classic. If you haven't heard of it yet, or you haven't seen it, you need to go and find it. This one needs to be in your collection. So before our final pick, I want to hear from you. So it's Halloween season. What are you going to be watching this month? What's your favourite Halloween movie? And also, what are the movies that you love that are actually set at Halloween? Let me know in the comments, and obviously don't forget to leave a like on this video, do all the lovely YouTube things. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe, because I've got more horror videos coming up this month. And yeah, let's have a look at our final pick. So in at number 1, we have HALLOWS LLC. Now, this one featured on my first horror video, which was 10 found footage movies you might have missed. And if you haven't seen that one, I'll put the link below. But HALLOWS LLC is fantastic. It's a found footage horror movie, and it's all about a bunch of people who put on scare mazes, and they buy this place called the Abaddon Hotel and make it into a scare maze, just ready for Halloween. The opening night is Halloween, and they start to realise that the Abaddon Hotel has quite a past and some spooky sort of goings on happening there. It's got some great scares in this one, and just a really cool scenario as well. I just really enjoyed the setting and the way they pulled this off. This is also part of a trilogy, so you have 2 other Hell House movies. They are on Shudder. I do have to say that the second and third do decline in quality a little bit, but they're still quite fun, and they do feature cameos from the people that are in the first one. So if you haven't seen HALLOWS LLC, see if you can track down the director's cut, which used to be on Amazon Prime, and watch that one, because that's the version that I watched, and I absolutely loved it. But yeah, this is perfect to watch at Halloween, and everyone will get a bit of a scare out of this one. So yeah, check it out. So that's it. That's 10 horror movies that are actually set at Halloween. So perfect to watch on the night if you're having a night in, or to watch any time this month, I guess. But if you haven't seen any of these and you do watch them, make sure you come back and tell me in the comments what you made of the film, see if you like it. And if you have seen any of these, let me know if they're on your favourite Halloween list as well. And next time I'm going to be doing a video for younger people, so this is going to be a video for Halloween favourites for younger kids. And if you're doing a spot of, you know, babysitting, or you have younger kids, or you're just not into horror and you want to watch something that's quite fun, make sure you stick around next week to watch that one, and that's going to be full of loads of little Halloween favourites. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.